got everything? Okay, let's do this. What's up, guys? This is Cody. Welcome back to another On Feet Friday video. This week, we're taking a look at a shoe from last year that was somewhat overshadowed by a more prominent release. That more prominent sneaker being my #1 sneaker of 2020, the Air Max 90. Which makes today's shoe the Nike Air Max 95, the 2020 release of the original neon colorway. Nike celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Air Max 90 by reworking the silhouette to make it more true to the 1990 original. And the same was done to the Air Max 95 to celebrate the silhouette's 25th anniversary. Now, not nearly as much work was done to the Air Max 95, but the goal was still the same, to make the silhouette as close to the 1995 original as possible. Now, I completely whiffed on the release on these. I was expecting it to be much more available like the infrared Air Max 3 was, and it proved to be much more limited. So I have to give a big thank you to a viewer of mine, Jamie, for hooking me up with this pair for retail. Much appreciated. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Before we dive into the 2020 release, a bit of a history lesson on the Air Max 95. Now, unlike the Air Max 1 and the Air Max 90 and the Air Max 180 and the Air Max 93, the Air Max 95 was not designed by Tinker Hatfield. Instead, it was designed by Sergio Lozano, a newer designer at Nike that was working on ACG products. Lozano was tasked with reinvigorating Nike running product, which had stalled in the early 1990s, especially when compared to Nike basketball product being led by Air Jordans. Lozano states design inspiration came from looking at the lake on Nike campus and imagining what a product would look like if it were unearthed by rain and erosion. So he sketched up a shoe that had striations similar to what you see on the walls of the Grand Canyon, a shoe that was slowly revealed over time, layer by layer. Striations, that's your word of the day. But that inspiration wasn't enough for Lozano. He remembered Tinker Hatfield saying, okay, so that's a great design, but what's your story? So he set out to flesh out the backstory of his design. He found direct correlation to human anatomy, with the layers of his design resembling the layers of the human foot, with muscles and fibers and flesh, with other design elements resembling ribs, like the texturing on the upper leading up to the eyelets, and vertebrae, which you can see on the textured reflective panel at the back of the shoe. Lozano followed through on taking risks with the Air Max 95, making it the first shoe with visible air in the forefoot, and reducing the Nike branding to a minimum. Originally, he didn't even want this swoosh, instead relying on Nike's strong brand identity and his progressive design to carry the model. This was met by hesitation at Nike, but compromises were made, the swoosh was added, and ultimately, Lozano's design became the Air Max 95. Now, lastly, the original neon colorway. Lozano's confidence in his design led him to select gray as the base color, stating, "I was told that gray didn't sell and took that as a challenge." Black was selected for the midsole, which was a first for Nike running product, typically featuring white midsoles. But Lozano stated that in Oregon, running shoes get dirty after just a few miles, so black was chosen to hide that dirt. Neon yellow was selected as the silhouette's signature accent color as a nod to heritage Nike running kit. There's cars honking outside, bass next door. I hope that picked up. I hope he's not talking to me. Where was I? And so, the Neon Air Max 95 was born, now one of Nike's most iconic colorways. Lozano's confidence in his design and perseverance with Nike delivered exactly what he set out to create, a unique running silhouette. A running silhouette that would become synonymous with music scenes and youth culture in the 90s, helping to establish the Nike Air Max line as a staple in street style. Alright, that's enough of the history, let's check out the 2020 release. Like I said earlier, the goal of the 2020 release was to make the Neon Air Max 95 as close to the original as possible. And it seems like the consensus, for the most part, is Nike did a good job. The original oversized airbag did not make a return, but we did get the pressure ratings back on the outsole, which is usually omitted on standard Air Max 95 releases. If you didn't know, the air unit on the Air Max 95 is chambered, meaning it has different air pressures. So under the forefoot, it's 20 psi, at the sides of the heel, it's 25 psi, and then at the back of the shoe, it's 5 psi. Over the years, the gradient upper has become less of a gradient, more of an attempt at a gradient. So for 2020, Nike made sure that gradient was easily noticeable. And it serves as a true gradient from the white mesh down to the black midsole. The neon yellow color itself has varied over the years, much like how the infrared has varied on the Air Max 90. Most notably, it was almost green on the 2015 release. Much better on the 2020 release, a true neon yellow. There's other little details like the subtle reflective hits in the laces, or the coloring of the Air Max logo on the tongue, or even the neon yellow insole, all making this more true to the original 1995 release. And they come in the original Air Max 95 box. So, the 2020 Neon Air Max 95. It released right at the end of the year of the Air Max 90 on December 17th, 2020 for a retail price of $170. And the colorway is listed as black, neon yellow, and light graphite. Now, let's see how they look on feet. So that's the 2020 release of the Neon Air Max 95 on feet. To be honest, I've never been a huge fan of the Air Max 95. I've always preferred the Air Max 90. It's one of my favorite sneakers of all time, and I've always thought the 95 to be a bulky silhouette. And while the sole is chunky, the upper is surprisingly sleek on feet. I was genuinely surprised when I put them on for the first time. And there's a reason this colorway has become an iconic Nike colorway. It is perfect for this design, and it looks great in person. I am pleasantly surprised with this shoe, glad to finally have it in my collection. So lastly, for sizing. I recommend going with your standard Nike size, the same size you wear in an Air Max 1 or an Air Max 90. But I do have a narrow foot, and width-wise, these do fit kinda snug. So if you're a wide footer, you might wanna go up a half size. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts on the Neon Air Max 95. Are you a fan of the 95s, or do you prefer a different Air Max model? If you enjoyed this video, found it informative, like the Air Max 95, are still listening to me talk now, scroll down and hit that like button. That will help YouTube recommend this video to new viewers. And while you're down there, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. In between videos, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Cody Templet. And for updates on shoes like the Neon Air Max 95, you can follow my sneaker accounts at 712co, at Adidas Alerts, and at Swoosh Supply. Until next time, this has been Cody and I did that too early. Until next time, this has been Cody and the 2020 release of the Neon Air Max 95. Thanks for watching. I threw it to my left hand and I even missed that one. So for the last 2 weeks, only one person has found the Easter egg, the same person, so I'll try to make it a bit easier this week.